I've been doing theming for the last 3 years. Working on lots of cool sites. Sometimes theming annoys me, and that's why I made this module. And this is Chris Bryant, my partner.
Yeah, I've been started Gravitek Labs a few years back, and we got in specifically from the design world. So I was running a design company before getting into Drupal, and we started building Drupal websites and doing it just straight from not worrying about how Drupal should look when it's outputted. We just give the designer, here's the basic content, and design the site however you want it to be designed, and trust that the designer is going to do a good job. So yeah, we basically got in and did a lot of really hard to theme Drupal sites because of that. And so yeah, we've been doing a lot of really cool, we've been fortunate enough to work on really far out themed sites, and there's challenges that come up in the process when dealing with starting a project and having tight deadlines, and sometimes needing to start theming before you actually have the functionality in place. And I think
that's so that's what I'm going to talk about. So these are some pain points that I tend to experience, like in the beginning of a project. Sometimes I'll get like, a one-pager that this designer thinks that they hit all of the areas that I need. Or, like just things end up changing and mock-ups come flying in, like, there was only going to be 2 or 3, but now there's going to be 10. So I don't really get any like big picture planning. I can't like have a plan of attack on how I want to implement my CSS, and sometimes the architecture too. But because of that, actually just because of kind of the way it is with Drupal, and most of the time the development process, the developers get all of it first. They get all the time to do whatever they have to do with it, and then by the time it gets to you, you're rushing through it and just trying to get it done.
That never happens.
Yeah. So I mean, as if Drupal's CSS and all the stuff that you have to do to make it work with you isn't sloppy enough. That stuff doesn't help. Because of all these crazy selectors. I mean, how many of you have to do crazy targeted CSS sometimes just to get what you need? And that you can't reuse that. And sometimes unless you have the big picture ahead of time, sometimes you may have a 10-line long selector doing the same thing because you keep coming back and applying the same style somewhere else where something new gets added. And like a separate thing from this, after you hand off a theme to a client, sometimes clients are pretty hands-on and they want to go in and start changing things themselves, and you can provide them with some default styles, but you can't really give them access to everything that's there without having someone come in from the theming side and adding some CSS for it in a lot of cases. So that's kind of why I didn't write this module, a developer did, but I came up with this module. I want to be able to define what my CSS is going to be, what my styles are, based on the design, not based on whether it's going to be in a block or a panel pane or whatever. I mean, I want Drupal to bend to what I say. So basically, this module lets you, in the theme layer, in your .info file, define some styles, and they'll come up in the user interface, whether it's a block or a panel pane or a node type editing page where you can hit comments too. I mean, you can kind of set styles for anything that runs through a pre-process hook. So we're only doing top level stuff here, but that's the gist of it. So you can kind of do what you want with it and be able to reuse it all over the place. And it has a way of like cutting CSS files down to like by a third, or a fifth, because you don't, you just set up your styles where, you have that top level class and you just kind of extend it. You make it modular and you account for extra cases as they come up within it. So in the end, you have a really solid, bit of CSS that can almost take anything that you can throw at it. So you can just keep applying it over and over again. And for those clients that want to get in there and they know that something exists somewhere and they know what the name of it is, they can pick it from a drop-down menu and apply it. And lastly, with this module, if you are like, crazy about your markup and you just can't stand anything that Drupal spits out, you really could not print out anything that Drupal gives you with this and just define everything on your own, by just deleting all of that top level and printing out the Skinr variable. And it all works through the .info file.
So who here are site administrators? What about themers? What about developers? So we got a good mix of everyone, right? All right.
Yeah. So everybody's familiar with .info files, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically, this is like the simple syntax for it. It starts with Skinr, you give it a system name, a label, and that label is what's going to be seen in the UI. And I don't know what I hit. And a class, and that doesn't have to be one class. It could be two classes. It could be whatever, and you can apply that wherever. So something this is like the bare minimum that's required for it. It would show up anywhere if you did it like this. But then there's like more advanced stuff. If you want to sort of group them, this is an example of a menu that has, a default style and also has a different color variation. So instead of making an entirely new style for, menu black white, I build off of the menu style. And since I know that menus are only going to come out from Drupal in a block or a panel pane, here I'm limiting it so it doesn't show up in the UI anywhere else, just to kind of reduce clutter if you end up having a lot of them. Yeah, and I guess we'll show it to you. We had a little hitch where I guess maybe you should just tell them about the site and
Yeah.
how you post it.
So, where you can find this project is drupal.org/project/Skinr. And, we started the project working with Warner Brothers Records for this digital detail, it's called, which is to aggregate statistics and information from across all their Drupal multi-sites. So they have about 110 sites in their multi-site installation. They said there's a wealth of data there, and we need to be able to go out and get information from these different sites and keep track of that, track it historically. And so we started the project, and like we mentioned, it was a tight time frame to get the theme implemented. We were still working on the functionality, so we got in and started building it so that we could reuse styles. And
Yeah, I guess I could show you this first. So, this was the mock-up that I got. And, the site, when I was told to do this base theme, had nothing. It had, this one little graph up in a panel on the top, and, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's like a pretty simple-looking design, but there wasn't anything there for me to build off of. And, out of just sheer frustration, I started looking for another way to handle this. Because, clearly there's a lot of styles here that can be reused. So what's the point of me targeting block X or panel pane X? Then I'm going to have to go back and change all of it later and wind up with a mess. So I started looking around and I found the block theme module. And that was what we originally ended up implementing on the site. But that has its issues. Is anybody familiar with the block theme module? Well, no?
No.
Okay, well, what it does is the same sort of thing. It lets you define styles in your .info files, and it'll give those styles to you in the UI. But it doesn't have any it doesn't allow you to add classes in, you know, like the block class module? Like just one-offs where you want to add a class, it doesn't do any of that. And it doesn't let you use like dependencies, I guess you want to call them. So like with that menu, so if it's the black menu or the gray menu, I couldn't reuse, you know, the regular menu. I had to create a whole new thing and duplicate the whole styling for the, you know, for the lists and everything. So that was one thing. And the second thing was it didn't work with panels, which in this case, I can't use it. The whole thing is a panel. Every single page is a panel, so that's no good. So that's where Skinr really came about. So I implemented it with block theme at the time, and when I finished that, I had so much free time left over. They've been going so nuts. Like, there's so much stuff going on this site right now. I worked on it initially for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and they've been going at it, adding stuff left and right for a month, and I haven't had to come back since. So during that time, that's when we've been working on Skinr. So Skinr is really only like 2 weeks old. It needs some refinements in the UI and all that stuff, but what it does is it allows you to hook into any pre-process hook, and like I said, we're going for the top level stuff. It's going to give you that stuff in views, in panels, in nodes, in blocks, wherever, and it's going to allow you to define where you want those to show up on top of that and handle the dependencies. So,
can you show an example of the code maybe, like,
yeah,
you know.
I'm going to show. So this is the .info file for. Can you read that?
Even more, please. Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty sneaky, sis.
yeah.
Sneaky pasta.
Yeah, like so. So for the menu, I want to be able to share those menu classes, but I know that the black one needs the menu, so I want both of those. Both of those need to be required. And I want to group them because eventually in the UI, I want that to be a field set that expands and gives you those as sub-options, or like in a select or whatever. And yeah, I mean, some of them, I'm not really limiting it anywhere here because really, like, it's not fully implemented on the Warner Brothers site. It's still using blocking.
Do you have a TPL? So we can see the
The
correspondence?
TPL, well, so we're using the lovely Canvas method by the Pink Vision guys over here.
Okay.
So we're doing that stuff really in pre-process. Example would be right here, down at the bottom. Yeah. Down at the bottom, we're just passing in an extra class. It's right there, always in the top level. Skinr is what it is. And in the template file, we are just printing out attributes.
That's really slick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's slick.
So,
Because we just had a conversation over here, how Drupal does things ass backwards.
yeah,
Really, you should design your
Yes.
CSS based upon class names,
yes.
and then apply class
Yes.
names to the div. So I think we should have a mothership Skinr.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They will be, my son.
But that's exactly what you're doing.
yeah, I mean, June Park sent out a link, I think it was a couple weeks ago, a talk, I don't know what the woman's name is, but her handle is Stubbornella. I think she works at Yahoo, and she was giving a talk on object-oriented CSS.
Yeah,
And I was like,
exactly.
holy shit, that's what this is.
Yeah.
It really, you know, I mean, it's not like the best implementation right now, but I mean, if we like approach all of our themes this way and just kind of forget about what Drupal's doing, well, I mean, we could really make some progress, you know, to making things easier and more modular for us, because it's kind of just like crap once it gets to us. It's all just a lump. It's bad. You know, and I mean, I think this is one way that we could just forget about all of that and just look at it completely differently.
You know what I love about this? You know what my biggest pet peeve on Drupal is block dash 0.
No. That's actually changing.
Because when I port a site from dev to live and somebody else makes another block before I made another block, I have to go back and reload it.
Yeah.
This would just solve that.
Yeah.
Did you guys do this design as well?
No.
No. No. And this site isn't complete yet, but, I mean.
That's a great, like, that's meant to be like administrative side. That's a great
This is,
design.
yeah, I mean, this is like an awesome, the things that they're doing on this site, it's mind-blowing to me. I mean, they're pulling in data from like, you know, how many databases? Oh, hundreds of databases?
120, yeah.
And pulling, it's like Google Analytics for them, internally. It's sick.
Yeah. Congrats on getting that contract.
We've been working with them for a long time, doing a lot of different artist sites, and this has been on the back burner for quite a long time, and luckily
Yeah, here.
able to get some
No,
time.
see, I've been off of this project for so long, I don't even remember where everything is, so he's gonna have to go through stuff.
So, you know, here's the homepage of this site, and basically, this is a dev site, and you know, it doesn't have all like accurate data right now. We basically recently upgraded to panels 3 on the site, and so there's some incompatibilities between that. Skinr and panels 3 needs a little bit of love. But basically, so this is just a default panel that has the content that we need in it, and it's not really skinned properly. You see, it doesn't really match the design. But you know, we have a bulletin in here. You know, well, that wouldn't actually display the type.
Yeah, and let me just say though, because we right now their SVN server's down, so we're kind of working, you know, this isn't the bare minimum. All of these styles are being applied through one of these classes. So if you really saw it bare naked, the only thing that you would see was like the quick tab stuff, you know? So we're just gonna kind of go through some examples of what we can change right now.
So yeah, so say we have, you know, a home page, and this part is done with quick tabs, and we can see some charts, you know, which sites are getting, you know, have the most users online right now, and you know, historical data. So this is a whole other topic, which we'll cover at some point. But basically, we wrote a module called a stats module that will historically track any kind of statistic that you want, and that can use APIs and go out and grab data and put it into database tables and store it at whatever interval you want. So, you know, in this case, we have a currently online statistic, and we say we want to store it every 15 minutes, and we're able to do a chart based on that. Or we could switch and say, okay, I want to see, registered users.
Yeah, and that is like tabs nested in tabs, and like, yeah, so, you know, that's one set of tabs and then a block full of another set of tabs and all that stuff, and it, you know, it just works. They keep throwing stuff at it, and it's just, it's coded well enough that it works, and it just keeps getting reused all over this site.
Okay, so this one might not, might have some issues loading with the dev site right now. Content timeline. But then we get down here and we have these snapshot statistics, right? So, you know, basically total users online, revenue, registrations, logins, and these will change. They'll compare the previous value, and they'll adjust and show green or red based on what's changing. And so, anyways, then some other basic information. You know, you see sites online, and total number of profiles, and some operation statistics. So this is a page that isn't able to be styled right now, but basically, let's see, this is how it looks with the proper styles, right? So we don't have the boxes around here. The bulletins, styled properly. Most of the other stuff looks kind of similar.
Yeah, I mean, let's just show them how it gets edited, I guess.
So in this case, we have some blocks basically, gender demographics or age demographics, And in this case, you see this age demographics one isn't styled. We haven't set anything specific for that. And so if we go to the block admin here, if we can get it to load on the Wi-Fi and VPN loading.
It's all Skinr's fault.
We should have brought this tab open too.
I might have something to pull up from here.
We get some guy dancing in his underwear.
Maybe because you don't wear underwear.
Oh,
Oh, here.
I have come up, I kept you, don't want to see.
Will you just knock when that happens?
Yes.
All right, so here's our block admin page, and so yeah, if you see, we have navigation block up there. If we come and edit this,
So, yeah, so this is basically the UI for it, which I think needs some help. I mean, I want to actually pass in like a description so somebody you can, say what's going on with it. So if it's a user using it, you could provide them maybe a link to a screenshot or something, and have them be grouped. And you could, go nuts on all of this. I mean, you could do classes like, rounded corner, black border, toothpick. So I mean, obviously give them better names and stuff like that, but you could just keep layering them on top of each other is the point that I'm trying to make. That's why they're all check boxes.
So really what you're doing is,
so you
the
see
setup takes a long time. And once you have the setup, meaning your info file and your planning,
Yeah,
then for the changes that accommodates, even if certain, whatever, it just appropriates it and says, okay, well, these classes go here, just refer to here, these are the changes.
and you extend them where you need to.
Exactly. That's great.
I mean, it doesn't take that much time, I mean, I think like it may have taken.
I mean, in planning, that's
Yeah,
what I mean.
it doesn't take that much time, maybe like half a day or something like that to really get into it and see what's gonna happen. But, another instance where this is like so good is when people change things on you constantly. So, at least with this, you don't have to you don't have to assume everything is set in stone, and you could just have to make little changes instead of huge changes when, things are changed on you, which happens to me quite often.
So, say in this case, we have one like gender demographics. That's not really. So I just updated the block here for the navigation first, and we changed it from a black to a gray. Basically we do something similar where we want the gender demographics to look similar or the same. So we can go and edit that.
Yeah, and all it's doing is just passing that class that you set in the design info file to the top level div. That's it.
Is this in my theme .info file or the .info file in Skinr? Which
Well,
file?
the .info file in the theme you're working on, and your theme template files are also going to have to print out the Skinr variable. So if you're doing something like, rendering your classes and printing them out all nicely and pre-processed, then you do that there.
I'm sorry to
Otherwise,
interrupt you, but just before he clicks save, will you scroll back up for a second?
Sure.
So these checkboxes, Is this what, this is
That's
something that I'm
exactly what's in the data info file,
in the theme side?
in the theme.
The main theme
Yes.
side.
Woohoo!
Thank you, sorry, that was a little slow.
Yeah.
It's a paintball theme, so everything is a bit slow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Can you go back to the info file now that we've seen that?
Yes.
Can we
So now we
compare
have,
that, so that makes
Yeah,
sense?
we wanna go
Because
see the data.
you have tags in there that designate block and other elements in that.
And how,
Yeah, because that's all the other, yeah,
one second, so as soon as this reloads, we should see that.
Okay.
they should do like
Block
a video
change.
podcast, like
uh,
just using it, you know? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, you know something, what I really like big picture, what I see this module helping us with is being able to submit smaller pieces, contribute smaller pieces of code back to the community. Because I could never contribute back this theme, and you know, in all honesty, a contrib theme is a huge like time suck. I mean, like, so maybe if people could just, you know, contribute smaller bits, like, hey, I've got this great set of tabs, and, you know,
Oh,
hey,
like
I've got this, yeah. You know, that this way, like, people that don't know what's going on, but are smart enough to be able to, well, actually, in Drupal 7, they won't even have to print anything else out in their template files. Because that stuff's all going to be done during pre-process anyway, so any theme's going to have to support printing out the class. You know, so if you don't really know anything about this, and like maybe one day there'll be a theme or API or something, and you could have a list of snippets approved by the community, or, you know, whatever. We could have our own thing, you know, and people could just go there, plug in the style, and be done with it.
So then what you're doing then is you're creating a theme, the collection of snippets.
Yes.
And that extends it.
Mhm.
Because one of the big things with our theming, how it's set up,
Right.
nobody who really wants a real site done
Yeah.
Yeah.
is gonna go and get a regular theme.
Yeah.
But if you like a certain way, a certain element is stylized,
Exactly.
that's what you can do to
Mhm.
piece stuff together.
You know, and that's why it's important for all of us to kind of help get, you know, Drupal core to give us the best it's got. Because if we can all style on the same code base, it's much more likely that all of these little snippets will work together, you know. And imagine what kind of mashups a year or two from now people could do, you know, when things really improve, and just like drag and drop stuff from all over the place and make the site in a minute or two, having it look exactly the way you want.
So go back to the dot info again now?
Yeah.
When you think about it, that's what developers do all day long with like a module that does one specific little thing. So that's like the design equivalent of it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that's the whole
Actually
point.
more true to what the developers do.
So,
Yeah.
dumb question because I came in late. Does this only work with blocks or is it
No,
kind of?
no.
Oh, gee.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, well, actually, I have to show you, because this isn't even limiting it, like, there's more, let me go back to my thing over here.
Wait, there's more?
This, well, this
And
is,
they're small.
this is the grouping, but this is, you missed this. This is how you could limit it, like, so you know menus only come out in
Yeah.
blocks and panel panes, so don't show it to me anywhere else in the UI, and that's what that does.
Wait, where's that do it?
That's gonna say, you know, when it's time to, yeah.
can't really read it.
Oh,
You can't
features.
see that, yeah, features. So that's, the feature is gonna be kind of like the hook equivalent. I mean, that's not the case for the panel pane.
Oh, I see.
But basically, you're telling Skinner, do not show this style if we're trying to, you know, if we're trying to skin a node type, or a node comment, or a view display. Don't show it there, because it's not gonna do anything to what's inside that. And, you know, you need that.
Wait, so you don't just gonna add random classes to everything? Isn't that the only way? Yeah, I know that's kind of difficult, but.
I got you right.
Yeah.
Have you experimented with adding like grid classes?
Like, I haven't,
'Cause
no,
if
but
you had grid classes, you could go really.
I mean,
far.
yeah, I want to. I haven't had the chance yet.
I've done grid with Studio before.
Yeah?
And the same idea applies. But,
Yeah?
So Skinner is essentially doing the same thing on top of Studio. It's quite
Yeah,
possible.
that's cool. I mean, I just think there's so many possibilities for like, I mean, like right now it's in early stages, and I wish I had something better to show you how, you know, how easy it is to flip between the styles and everything. But,
You know, this is like you could create, I mean, I'm thinking about our API, you can make a cooler based upon element styles.
KULER, you mean?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
right?
Just a suggestion for making this, the .info file stuff work maybe a little bit more smoothly. Instead of having to actually enumerate the keys in this array, so we have like menu style 1 label, menu style 1 class. The way .info files typically work, you just say like tack a new thing onto the array. So it would be, you know, Skinr menu style, open, close. So you weren't able to like comma separate anything? Or?
I don't know what the actual, I know that's exactly what I asked for.
Right.
But there was a reason why it wouldn't work, and it had something to do with how the .info file information gets parsed, and, you know, because look, how it actually gets stored is this. This is what it looks like in your variable table. You know, so it saves by hook, and it just kind of stores it in there. I mean, like, so this is a panel, exact panel pane that it's targeting here, and this block user 1 is, you know, block module delta, the same thing you would get in the lovely IDs you guys love. block 0, block. So.
And the idea is for this is to work across like all Drupal entity types, right? I mean, pretty much you can do your menus obviously through a block, but you can do blocks, you know, views, panels.
Yeah, I mean,
nodes.
they were even talking about taking it down to the view field level. You know, I mean, personally, I don't really care about that. I mean, I feel like there might be a situation where that's useful though. So, I mean, anything that runs through a pre-processed hook can be done, you know. It can be tapped into right here. So, I mean, there's a lot of improvements, you know, over the last couple of years with Drupal, and, you know, there's starting to be ways that we can, you know, leverage, you know, all the flexibility that it has in the theme layer.
I have a real sneaking suspicion that you guys could like do like about a 10 or 15 minute like demonstration on like just a straight install. Like there are a lot of people that would.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't have the time.
Well,
like,
later, you know, later.
no,
A video podcast.
That's why I think it would be cool if people could submit some stuff. I mean, everybody knows what the markup is. Like
Talk to Jeff about doing a podcast.
Be a rock star.
Yeah.
Be a rock star.
Yeah, I mean, so that's really it. I mean, I'm that much.
Can you go back, there's one more step, right? You have to add something to the pre-process as well?
Only if that's what's going on in your theme. Like, you could easily, it depends on what your block template file is doing.
But it's more than just the .info file.
Yeah.
You have to have
right
some
now.
way to get it to the template
Unless your
file
theme
itself.
supports it. So, like, if Zen goes out and adds the Skinr variable, then it'll be there. You know? But otherwise, if you're starting from scratch or whatever, that you have to add it. And I'm adding it during pre-process. Just, oh, this is really big. Right here.
Okay.
Couldn't the module actually just implement its own pre-process to automatically add that?
Except in the template wouldn't be able to print it.
Yeah.
The reason is this is built on Studio, and the template already has the print render attributes.
Right. So
Classes.
otherwise, yeah, you just do PHP print Skinr.
Yeah.
Right.
But you still have to have the variable printed in the template file somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just Studio makes it a
And
bit
it's
easier.
stupid because you have to appoint for an extra space sometimes, depending on what it's being added onto. It's going to be a lot better in 7. I wish they would go this route. I spoke
Thank
up.
you.
And I'll be honest with you, I just spent a week in Lullabot training. I want to learn more about module development and stuff. And it was really cool.
That single commit to 7 made me cry. Because it does this, but just for classes.
Yeah, it's really awesome. But so I was asking, questions about it, and I showed, Nate and Eaton what you guys did and everything, and they thought it was an interesting approach. I don't know, we gotta get the word out there. Everybody try the canvas, please.
Aren't you doing a presentation on that, Miss Ken?
Not here, no.
They did such a great job, they really
We
did.
could throw something together.
Yeah, throw something down, we want to see.
This whole thing was like, for us to come out here as a ranger like a week ago.
I did my presentation on the flight over here.
Your flight was a bit long.
It makes life a lot easier.
That's
It
awesome.
does. You know, especially when you're doing like a whole shitload of body classes and stuff, I mean, which I always do. I go nuts with body classes. So this is just great, it just keeps it all out of the way, I don't have to look at it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I
okay.
guess another question is, Drupal 7 coming, code freeze in September. If there's parts of this type of setup that would make sense to go into core, maybe that's something that, I don't know if that is the case.
Well, I
or
think
not,
that
but-
We
they're
were pretty much
being-
shot down as soon as it came up.
I mean,
I think I heard that
Apparently
one
arrays
before
are too
about
complicated
getting
for
stuff in.
themers.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's wrong though, we have to change that, because what your theme does makes it easier for the user.
Makes it cleaner.
It does,
Can you show us that there?
yeah.
Yeah, you pitching it.
Sure.
I want to see this.
Sure. You guys wanna come up here and explain it, because I have nothing else to say.
We can.
Go, 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 go.
Go, go.
Yeah, what should we do tomorrow? I think we've got a reservation.
Yeah, there's like open spots tomorrow, we can probably slip something.
Okay, studio.
Quick introduction to Studio. Studio does some interesting things. It is a base theme it does things in a completely different way than something such as Zen or some other base theme. In that a lot of the attributes of objects are pulled into preprocessing arrays. Themes by default have all of these dumped out as straight strings, and it's basically impossible to remove a single class. Or add a single class. You have to overwrite the entire string in order for that to work. Yeah. So for example, if I open let's go into Oculus Slate, pull open the block template. You'll notice right here, it's pulled in. That's not working. But anyway.
Yeah, you have to do shift.
Shift.
Control, command shift.
And so in this case, you have div class equals block wrapper, and then it's printing some other class. If I wanted to go add something to this class, to this div, I would have to either create a new template file or modify this template file in order to get that class in there. If I wanted to remove the block wrapper class, it's kind of difficult just because it's all coming in strings. And so what Studio does, if I now come to Studio's template file, Studio also structures things very interesting, but I'll get into that in a second. If I open the block template file here, you'll notice the overall wrapper is div print attributes, and all of this is now set through preprocess, which is a gorgeous thing. So now if I come into my preprocess, another thing that Studio does is there's no such thing as a preprocess function. Inside of template.php, it's looping in hook. You can still use it, but in template.php, there's in the root hook preprocess, it loops through and includes files because our preprocess functions were getting miles long. And you take all those miles of preprocess functions in your single template.php, and you have an impossible to maintain file. So instead, we broke preprocess functions into preprocess files. And so you'll notice there's a preprocess block.h. If I open that up, you will see slowly a var's block attributes is being built. As this is being built, it adds the class block, it adds the class block module, it adds the class block region. So it's adding all these classes together, and at the very end, it's running it through a theme function that Studio provides, which is theme render attributes, which takes all of those attributes, no matter if they're classes, titles, IDs, anything, structures them correctly, and then pushes that all the way to the template file and prints it right there.
That's awesome.
So you just go into your preprocess block and remove all the crap you don't want.
You perform all your logic.
And the other thing this does is, since this is a base thing,
Instead of loading up template PHP with a bunch of crap.
since this is a base theme, you base your theme came off of this. Inside of your
She might have
preprocess,
like 10 pages.
inside of your preprocess block, your preprocess block now has access to this, and it comes in as an array. So you can say, I don't want the block anymore. Just if you imagine you were in a base theme, you would just go unset vars block attributes
Done.
class block.
Well, block it from that.
Well, no, I'm saying if inside.
Well, like in Morton's like pre-processed file, there would be nothing.
Correct.
There will be some things because I need to identify
Skinr,
some
like
of their.
print Skinr.
Yeah, only Skinr. I'm going to use nothing but Skinr.
And you can replace the whole attributes array if you want, and then start from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a couple other things the studio is doing. One of them is a region template file. We noticed that in your page template, you see a lot of repeated code. You see in normal, if I go up to this page.tbl, you'll see something if, where's regions?
Yeah, if a region print region.
Yeah, then you have to put the wrapper
You see a
is.
lot of
In
repeated
the-
code. Whereas if I open up Studio's page template, we comment a lot of stuff. It's much cleaner.
Yeah.
Much cleaner.
Oh, sweet.
And the reason this is possible, usually you have to wrap your region in certain divs, but the reason this is possible is if I open up my region.tbl,
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean,
and
that,
now the same applies for region variables. If I want to go add a sidebar class to certain regions, I open up preprocessed region, guess what?
yeah.
Here is,
If you go into
inside of,
if you go into Paint.
yeah, so
Studio is actually a mix of like 3 different themes.
Just keep it simple.
the reason is because Canvas is the base theme,
Yeah.
Paint is
A
kind of the Zen starter kit of Studio, and then WS Admin is the admin theme. That
So I would just add that in my, I'm inheriting your theme, the studio theme. We're just going to override these files, or how will it happen in
You
the
just create your
software?
own.
Yeah.
I create my own preprocessed
Yeah,
region.
the preprocess file system is made to work within subthemes also.
Okay, so I have my subtheme, so I can just take your preprocessed region.inc and copy it and throw it down my own theme, and then it's just going to override it.
Well, and okay, so in this case we have 2 regions. In this Paint theme, we have a region name left and a region name right. We wanted to add a class of column to those. And so in our preprocess, we just do if vars region name left or right, add a class of column. And now that inherits all the way through the left and right regions, we don't have to ever go back and edit those template files. We don't have to go make special template files. If we want to add classes to only certain blocks, we can do the same thing here. We don't have to go create additional template files. It really is a slick way of working in a very fast way if you're comfortable touching a little bit of PHP.
That's awesome.
And then another thing that I thought of too is like, because there's been a lot of talk of the RDFA stuff. I mean, well, RDFA is basically just attributes on these various containers. So you just roll RDFA stuff into that, and then my version of Drupal attributes will basically just render that all out into a single string. But like Matt said, we were pretty much shot down as soon as he brought it up somewhere. Because themers can't handle arrays apparently.
No. It's not stuff, you know.
We gotta figure out a way to get word out about these issues so that we can all come comment on them. Like, we should use that, like, the design for Drupal tag. Like, when you tag something needs design review, it gets spit out on Twitter, so, everybody know that?
No.
Yeah, if you tag an issue needs design review, it goes across the Twitter design for Drupal, or, there's a Twitter feed for it, I'll look it up.
Yeah, I made it.
Oh, yeah.
So we can actually go in there and tag.
What is it?
Twitter.com/D4D review.
Okay. That's good. That was a good thing. Thank you.
So yeah, that's Studio. It might be more.
And it's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Jeez,
because
I'm gonna have like
support
how many
for
themes?
Yeah,
Can I
and then
inherit
the
stuff
beautiful
from each
thing,
other?
today, during a few sessions, I've been working on pulling this same idea into views template files and CCK template files to simplify those and make adding classes and attributes to those template files.
Geez, you're gonna kill my mothership.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, mothership's gonna go bye-bye.
Override.
Yeah.
That's awesome, guys. That's really awesome.
Sweet.
That's
It's
awesome.
kind of nice figuring out that you're not, we want to
Yeah.
get pissed about.
One thing that we're struggling with is where exactly to put this attributes array within these various theme functions, because the way that all these arrays coming through in terms of bars are coming through in the theme layer is so inconsistent, we can't find one single good place to put these things. Nodes, well, the good idea is to put it within the node object, with blocks, the block object, but then you start getting some of the other ones to where they don't have an object of their own to put it into. So,
So we're kind of making up our own definitions as we go through.
Well,
That sounds like Google to
you
me.
did such a great job with this one. I'm sure whatever you come up with will be lovely.
So do you have the link or the node number of the issue that you posted that you said was shot down?
It's on the one that the classes array was committed
Yeah,
to
I think the
V7.
one that you mentioned there for the class.
That
Just,
one?
if you go into V7 now, you'll see something kind of similar. But in your node.tpl, you'll see div class, or the overall wrapper div around a node, which normally says like div class, node type, all of that, is now div class equals classes array, which is close.
But you still need logic in the TPL
But you
to
still
check
need
whether
logic.
you have classes.
Yeah.
You
And
still.
it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't want to handle all of that at once to me. It really doesn't. I mean, once it gets to the theme layer, it's my
Well, and
issue, not
the
yours. So
the
just
reasoning
give me
was.
You're speaking my language now.
The reasoning behind it was they still wanted themers to be able to open up a template file, see class equals something, be able to press space and add a text of their class.
Well,
Instead
then
of going
good for
into a
them, good luck
PHP.
with, their themes, because, I
But the
think
good
it's
thing-
kinda-
The good thing is that Studio will still work in 7, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can do it my own way.
And I'm gonna do it that way too, and I'm gonna talk about it. I'm not doing that. I think that's asinine compared to this.
Bollocks, I'm doing it that way too.
Yeah.
Of course, a loud enough wave of voices from enough people, would change that opinion of they.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we just need to make our own alternate PHP.
I think we all need to speak up, I really do. We need
Where?
to speak up, and we need to start, like, telling it how it should be, because they don't know. It's not that they, it's not that they're trying to work against us, yeah.
Well, it's gonna get, once it gets more used and it becomes more common, it's gonna be.
Yeah, but that's what we've been saying for, we gotta, like, just do it,
I think this calls for a manifesto more.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Well,
to do that
honestly, the
before
way to
we
get it
go.
done is to go talk to WebJig, to say this is how we like it,
Yeah.
and get the core committers looking at this in a serious way instead of haphazardly looking at the issues.
Yeah, I mentioned it haphazardly that I rewrote Drupal attributes
Yeah.
in like chat one time with WebChick in there, and she just kind of was horrified for a moment. Why would you do such a thing?
I've done it too, quite a few times. Don't give me any goddamn underscores in your classes. I don't want it. And that's the sole reason why I've done it a couple of times. But, then you sometimes run into problems depending on, whatever module you're using. If, they're trying to fire some Ajax or, I have jQuery stuff on it and you changed it. So, there is that whole presentational versus,
I believe Drupal core is very good about not putting underscores in classes. It's the modules that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use, exactly. Yeah. But that's what we're all using and we all have to deal with it, So. Do what you gotta do.
If they can specify that, to be an uploaded, distributed theme, the the thumbnail has to be an exact size, then I think that they can, also agree on some standards with underscores.
But we also all have to agree on some
Yeah.
standards too. And every time this gets brought up, people, they disagree on little things and then it doesn't move forward and whatever. I mean, we need to come together and learn how to start submitting patches and whatever, just to clean up the damn TPL files that they're giving us in the first place, so we don't have to do so much overriding every time we do a theme,
Well,
I mean,
yeah, another idea for this too, is like themes that arrays there, that's why we're trying to find a consistent place to put it, is a module maintainer or a core or something like that. They can start tacking on
exactly.
earlier up the line. And then when it got down to the theme, they would all be there. You don't have to have these template files with these hard-coded classes and IDs.
I'm glad you just said that,
Yeah.
because Skinr has an API. So any module could easily hook into it. So we could replace QuickTab styles. Now, I provide a style to QuickTab. Why the hell do I have to have it sitting in one repository over there? Because I updated Sky last week. QuickTab doesn't have my latest update, because now I gotta go post it over in that issue queue. And Advanced Forum wants me to do a style for their forums to match my theme. I mean, I'm doing thousands of workarounds just to get my core forums to work with her advanced forums and stuff like that. And I want all of my stuff central. And when it comes to like making themes for clients, I don't want to have to make a module just to have to hook in for you to search my theme directory for a style.
The whole thing that you have to have a module to hook into theming
Yes,
stuff like
exactly. So Skinr is now, it's going to talk to modules and themes and let the theme do it. And it's only going to still provide that class, but that's all you need. That's all you need. Because you can do your CSS in your own CSS files.
Oh, thank you. I'm a grown-up.
I want to make a quick announcement. For you and I, last night, we talked about this at length. So I'm with Four Kitchens, and we were actually building this module. And we wanted something where you could define classes in the .info file, and it's called block class. But you totally beat us to it, and this is so much better than anticipated building. So I just want to officially say that we want to merge ours with yours and retire
Awesome.
block class. And if anybody has any other improvements to the idea of supplying classes in a .info file or whatever.
And the UI.
Yeah, and we, I've already spoken with our UI expert, and he would like to help put some hours into that as well.
Awesome.
And also, there's an old module that I don't know if anybody's using it anymore, but it's called Themer.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, I have CBS access to that now, and I'm going to be changing it a lot. I'm going to do a 2x branch. So if anybody has a collection of tools, that, like little functions or little snippets or whatever that they like to add to their themes, but at a module layer, I just want it to be like a toolkit for themes. So module layer.
Well, why don't you hook it into Skinr?
Absolutely, we could.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if anybody has any ideas, we're out there, and I would like to just sort of, this may be a good opportunity for the next session, how to make Drupal better, and then the session after that, which Morton is leading about tipple fits.
Yeah,
The
well,
least-
it's
my-
actually just
the
going
most
to be,
horrific word I've ever heard.
put your arm up and
Right.
and talk about it, so we,
Brainstorm all
Yeah.
of this.
So where's the best place for this discussion to continue online? Like groups.drupal.org, is there a
design.
D for D, groups.drupal.org/D4D. That's designed for Drupal. Join the group, participate.
look out for the cool people, design, Drupal dash design, sorry about that.
Drupal-design.
Yeah, for the C channel.
Design dash.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody go on the IRC in here?
I have to, I deal with developers.
Alright, well, town Drupal-design, that's the design for Drupal chapter
In Freenode.
in Freenode. Yeah.
Just to scale. No.
Alright, well,